Well, well, well. A customer brought in a Blues Junior he just purchased used. It's really not that old and hadn't had any use. Thank God, from what I'm seeing here. Anyway, the reason I'm pointing this out is we have this phenomenon again. Now, I don't know what this is, but this is really starting to tick me off. So, here's the deal. I went to check it first thing to see how his tubes were because the amp doesn't have any playtime on it. So, keep an eye on this. Okay? One tube. We have 38 mils on roughly. Okay? Which is still too high, but we're going to fix that. The other tube, we have 64 on. Okay? Now your first thought would be mismatched tubes, right? But if any of you guys have been following these Blues Junior videos of mine, I've been running into this phenomenon several times here. Like I said, it's really starting to tick me off. I've not had time to investigate it. But again, if you pull the phase inverter tube and check again, we have 39 mils here. We have 39 mils here. Again, there's a problem with one of these tubes, and this is a Chinese groove tube. And I said before, I've had two different tubes, a Russian and a Chinese, before do this. So, hang on a second. Let me grab another tube. Okay, we've got another tube in here. We've got a JJ in it. Letting it warm up here a minute. Okay, we're up and running. So let's check our bias again. 37. 51. Okay. This is a different story. And as I say, the plot thickens. Alright, we've been doing a little bit more further investigating here. And it turns out that my JJ12AX7 does the same thing that the other one does. This is the first thing I've seen with a new tube. I've replaced it with another tube, and everything's balanced now. Now, like I said before, you can use this tube in another stage of the amplifier and everything will be fine. But in the phase inverter, it is a problem. This amp has come out of the factory this way. And the second owner's been playing it some, trying to break in the speakers. He had no idea that his tubes were running way out of balance. That would explain some of his headroom problems. Like I say, he brought it in for me to do my full mod on these because, regardless of what a lot of guys seem to think, the owners love them when I do this. So we're going to do it, and now I've cracked this case. I was afraid there was something else wrong here, like a leaky cap or something leaking on the board. But we're all good here now. So we're going to get on with the mod. But this is just something else I wanted to point out. I actually had another fella several years ago bring a Blues Junior in, and he'd put all new tubes in, and it immediately blew one output tube. And I found out he had the same thing, where one tube was running very, very hot because of the phase inverter tube. Like I said, I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if there's a oscillation here that you can't hear or whatever, but for some reason that side is drawing more current than the other. So to show you again, we're going to pull out my phase inverter tube I've stuck in here. And put the original one back in. 62. Yep. So heads up, guys. Just beware. If you can't measure this stuff, take it to somebody that can. If you're retubing your amper, you might just want to have it checked to start with. I say, this guy had no idea. I'm going to call him and tell him. So I was going to get started on the upgrade of this Blues Junior today. So I come in here late. One of those mornings where, things just keep going wrong. Anyway, so I come in here to get started on this Blues Junior, and this kind of bugged me. One of the things that bugged me last night, woke up once a night thinking about this phase inverter thing, and did a little bit more checking. I went through about 25 tubes here in the shop a while ago. I do not have a single new JJ out of 5 12AX7s or ECC83s that runs in this amp without creating this problem. I also went through a bunch of other stuff I had, like I say, about 25 tubes altogether, and only about 4 of them solved the problem. So I'm really beginning to think that this is not so much a tube issue as it is maybe a circuit issue. But something around this phase inverter is very sensitive to tube issues. And just simply because I can fix it by changing the tube, it kind of concerns me a little bit. Like I say, when I've got 4 tubes out of 25 that work in it, this is a major red flag for me. So I'm going to look at this a little bit more. This is something that's been bugging me for years anyway with these. I wrote it off as tube issues, but I'm not so sure now. So I've been doing a little bit more investigating here, and this is our plate current on this left tube as it was, with one of the with one of the 12AX7s in it. We're not going to call them bad anymore. I think we found out what the issue is here. Anyway, you've heard me say, if you're paying attention on these videos, on these Blues Juniors, that I thought that this was possibly an inaudible oscillation issue. So, what I'm going to do is show you what happens when I ground out the audio signal on the grid resistor for this tube. I'm going to ground it through a capacitor. The bias voltage and everything will stay there, but anything audio will be rolled off to ground. So watch what happens. 051. Look at that. We unground it. We're back to this. We definitely have an audio signal there we shouldn't have that's driving that left-hand side tube when it's not supposed to be. So, guess I'm going to do some more digging. I hate it when I'm right. Makes me have to work more. And this stuff you don't get paid for. So if I actually figure out what's wrong with it, you guys are going to get the benefit, and it's going to be free. Oh, children. Guess what we have found? Oh. See that? That is just about right. If we unhook the correction, we have that. Now, do you want to know what the problem is? Let's connect it again one more time. Okay, hang on. See, we got almost 60 mils on that tube. We make our correction, we have 33. Want to see what it is? It's a piece of shielding tape on a ribbon cable. I've got jumpers all over here to check this out with. I hate ribbon cables. And what we have here is unshielded ribbon cable, and it was picking up enough interference from somewhere to drive that tube. So when I shielded this and connected it to this screw up here is connected to chassis, it stopped it. So what I'm going to do is solder a little lead from here, put a ring washer up here, fasten it to that screw. That will solve the problem. Heads up, boys and girls, I would do that to every Blues Junior from now on that comes in here. Ha. Wasn't a tube problem after all. Not in this case anyway. You never know. So I'm going to give you another last look here at this to show you how I actually sorted this all out. You can say there's a jumper going up here to this screw connected to our shield. And at this point I want to humbly apologize to the tube manufacturers. For a few years I've been running into this problem. I've actually thought that it was a tube problem because it sure looked that way. But it turns out it's not. It's a design issue. I mentioned I really don't like ribbon cables. I don't. And while I'm mentioning that, I'm going to point out something else. If you notice, before I even started working on this amplifier, last night I ran a bead of silicone seal across those ribbon cables up here to kind of support them a little bit so they don't break off when I'm working on this amp. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to actually start the job that this was brought in for at this point. It's going to take a while. Like I said, it's my major upgrade with transformers, caps, all that. And, you know. And so a lot of guys that watch these videos have commented they don't believe it's worth the trouble. The owners will disagree with you. So I'm going to get on with this and actually start doing the real job here. But I thought I'd share this with you. So like I say, this was taken care of without getting into a whole bunch of rocket science stuff. And hopefully someone will get a benefit from this. So I can finally put this mystery to rest, safe in the knowledge that I've solved this problem. Mystery solved. So, till next time, play nice. I'll see you later.